Hello, everyone. Good to see everybody again. I'm not seeing anybody. I'm just looking at a screen, but been a little bit since I've been able to get on, and I just wanted to kind of catch everybody up. I was asked to kind of start doing these again because our industry is changing incredibly fast, and there's a lot of new information, and I don't really see too many people talking about it or kind of keeping things, lined up or the knowledge flowing. So I'm in the middle of a lot of these things, and I just wanted to share what I know and what's happening and bring this to you for your knowledge. So little catch up. Since I've been off, I wrote another book called Blue Collar Boss. It's on Amazon. And it's really, I wrote that first book, Blue Collar Gold, about kind of basically why you should build a business, why you should build a service business, because blue collar work was, you could just see the writing on the wall. And I wrote that in 2015. So 11 years ago, I'm like, man, you should build these service businesses because just all the things were lining up for home services to be very much in need, very much, needed for, because there weren't many of us. I just started this, so I got to make sure I don't have to allow people into this meeting. So far, I'm not sure, but we'll see how it goes. Might not be able to join me live. So they've changed this whole thing on StreamYard, and it's not as great as it used to be. So we'll just run it. So back then I said, hey, build the service business. Here's the mistakes I made. And here's why it matters. Then also how to lead those, how to grow that and get people to work with you on a combined effort to build these businesses. Well, who knew all this money and all this interest would come to chimneys and all home services years later? But, if you did those things, you're in an unbelievably great position now. And if you didn't do those things, there's still time and there's a way to do them to take advantage of this wave of interest and investment that's happening to our industry. I've been talking about it for years. I knew it was coming. I saw all the things that were lining up to come into the chimney industry. There was overseas money looking at us. There was tons of internal things happening, and you could just see that it's coming. Sooner or later, they're going to find chimneys, and now they have. So I want to talk about what that means. Some of you may have seen that I was named chairman of the board for a project called Chimney Collective, and I will go into that in a minute. But I'm glad to see everybody back. I hope to get groups and have this happening more often so we can have a real live conversation. But usually when you first start something, it takes a minute to get it into everybody's routine. And I gave you all of 30 minutes notice that that you were here. And I see Tim Bennis, I see that, and this is a mistake on this program. It's trying to have you be backstage and be on the show. And that's not what I meant to happen. I wanted it to be so you could just watch and then, add for chat. So if you have questions, Tim, feel free to add them to the thing. If not, I'm not going to bring you onto the show. We got to get that figured out on this platform, but welcome. So I want to talk about what is happening in the industry. And it's been happening for a little while in HVAC, plumbing, electrical, a lot of, also, if you're watching and you can't get in, I'm going to watch my phone. So text me if there's issues, technical issues, trying to get in and watch, and I'll keep an eye on my phone. You can private message me on Facebook, and I'll keep an eye out that way if there's anything I can do to help. But so let's just go into what's happening. There's a lot of money that's sitting on the sidelines, ready to invest in a lot of things. A lot of it's private equity, but there's just a lot of money sitting out there too, and they want to invest in something that's going to grow. And so in our industry, we were nobody's really interested in us. And if you sold your business, it was likely to some other person, normally not to a big company, and you would sell it or give it to your kid, or close the doors or whatever you would do in our industry. And that was the standard way to do it. And a lot of us kind of built businesses understanding that we're probably not going to get a great number for our company. We're not going to get rich from it for sure. And hopefully it'll be enough for us to go out on or do something else. And that's been happening for years. But now a lot of other investment money has moved in, and they see the chimney companies as really ripe for growing up, having more sophisticated systems, better processes, more profitable by having combined services and having just running them better. Not that you don't run your business great, but I can tell you that everybody kind of hires the people to help them with as much money as they can. If you get an accountant, it might be you, might be your brother-in-law, it might be a guy down the street that you know, but it's probably not a top firm that really understands tax and strategy. You have an insurance agent, same way. You have a marketing company. You have, some of these things that you have are what you can afford to have versus a group can hire or have best deals or best practices or higher end people that can help you run. I know that there's a lot of advantage to having higher level of people. I can tell you, when I used to have managers, and then when we grew, I could afford better people. I could afford, hire six-figure people that I couldn't afford before. Well, that's kind of what this is. And they're that way for a reason, because they understand things that you may not be able to afford to even play. They're going to play a game that you don't even know is out there. And it's really to our advantage in a lot of ways in our industry that they look at us and want to bring us in onto the other side of what's happening. So some of us are getting older. I'm 58 years old, about to be 59. I've been in this business 41 years. So it's only right for me to plan for the exit. What does that look like? I love to work. I love this industry. I'm not going anywhere. But what if something happened to me? Good friend of mine came up with cancer real recently, and they gave him, a terrible diagnosis. But he's going to fight it. But we don't know what's going to happen. Accident, sickness, illness, something with your brain. Honestly, my family, I've got kind of a black cloud over me. My father and grandfather both had Alzheimer's. So it just comes, it happens. So if you're building a business, it's responsible to have that next step in case something happens to you. Of course, we don't want it, but it's ignorant not to do that. So in this case, in a way, for me, I'm taking some chips off the table. So I'm selling part of my company to this private equity firm. I'm also then buying a chunk of the next company, and so I have part ownership in this new company, and I'm getting paid an amazing value for my company, and then I'm investing in this next growth of my company and other companies. So that's what the Chimney Collective is. If you saw the press release, there's a company that has a lot of money, private equity money, multiple investors, and they have found chimneys, and they are going to invest in chimney companies and build probably the best platform in the industry to make the companies that join them better. And they'll be in the market for quite a while and building a bigger platform. And so let me just talk about what that is. Well, let's just talk. So why are they interested in us? One, blue collar was COVID proof. As we saw when COVID came along, a lot of people, a lot of companies had shut down, but blue collar was deemed essential. So we actually thrived because of COVID, which most businesses didn't. Retail did not. Many things really failed during COVID. But blue collar was deemed essential, and here we are. Really, we could charge anything we wanted. It's a wild time. It was bad for just a minute, and then it was amazingly good for almost 2 years. And then the pendulum swung back the other way. Well, now we are AI proof. AI really only helps us. AI can't replace the guy going to the door, the guy, fixing the plumbing, fixing the chimney, sweeping the chimney, going to the top and putting the brickwork down, mowing your yard. We are AI proof. We're actually only super powered by AI, and it can only help us do better with our estimating, do better with our scheduling. It's really only helps us, which a lot of other industries, it totally disrupt them. So if you're an investor, it's hard to invest in technology that may be changing, by the day or by the week, where we blue collar guys, we're more stable. So we have kind of constant returns. We have, a need for our services, and that's a kind of a constant kind of lower number. And then we have a need for our repairs, which is a higher ticket item. And they really like that. We're not affected by China. We're not affected by a lot of other things. And we kind of have a constant, percentage that we can make if you're doing your company right. And that's very exciting to them. You've got venture capitalists. Now, that's not chimneys. Venture capitalists come in before something launches and they invest a bunch of money. So if this new app or this new platform or technology, they get in before the thing hits. Private equity comes in later after industries are established, and they invest in them to try to grow them or try to make them better. And that's one of the things that's happening in the chimney industry. There's probably 4 private equity firms moving through chimney companies. You've probably been called and talked to about it. So that's private equity. So, you've got your public stock market. You've got where companies go public, and they have an IPO, and then they go, like it's getting ready to happen with SpaceX. They're getting ready to go public and get all this investment from investors from that way. Well, there's the private side, but we're not public. But what these groups do is go find these niches, these companies, these industries, and they invest privately to you, and they give you the multiple and you the money, but you're not, they're finding it for their own little deal instead of being out on the stock market and traded. So it's a very kind of different thing. And there's a lot of money that's into private because they like finding these things off market and creating a market for them. But there's a couple other things that are happening out there too. So that's private equity firms, but there's brokers out there that are going to talk to you and say, hey, we're not a private equity company. What we're going to do is talk to you, get information from you, and then take you to market and try to bring you to market, have a bunch of people bid on you and try to get you the most money to sell the company. And like, if you're familiar with Tommy Mello and A1 Garage Door, that's what he did. He got his business ready, and then he hired a broker that put him out to market, and all these companies bid on him, and he got an amazing number, but he sold to a company that bought him. In what we're doing, it's different than that. We are forming a collective that is going to grow in value and recapitalize and over time as a group instead of an individual. I personally talked to the people who sold Tommy, and they were very nice and very knowledgeable, and made a great offer. But I decided not to do that for myself. But there's a couple more things. There's family funds that have moved in. There's a couple family funds in there, and these are very wealthy families that are buying services that are interesting to them and adding them to their portfolio a lot. Sometimes you see, it's not a family fund, but something like this is like a big thing called Neighborly. If you ever see Neighborly, they wrapped up, Mr. Handyman and Mr. Electric and, Dryer Vent Wizard and all these service companies, and they wrap these up as one company. In what we're doing, nobody changes their name. We're not changing the company's names. Everybody keeps their name, their identity, their employees, their whole structure. But we have a best practices that we all try to help each other in the group. So then lastly, there's strategic buyers in the market, which has happened to a few friends of mine and a couple of people I know. Somebody comes in and says, hey, I want to buy you. And I own a plumbing company, but I want to add chimney services to my company, or I'm already doing construction. I want to add chimney or HVAC, and or they may already own another chimney company and they come to buy you to add to their portfolio. And that's called a strategic buyer. So that is another type of buyer that's in the market. I know several people in the last 6 months that have sold to a private strategic buyer. So that's what's happening. We're interesting. We're sexy. We're the pretty girl at the dance right now. So that's kind of what it is. So then I do want to go into, and right now I'm not getting any chats or questions, although I've turned them on. So I think something's wrong. I've seen a handful of people join, but if you have questions, please ask, and hopefully I can get them. And I'll get better at this program as I use it more. Again, they've changed some stuff since I stopped using it. So let me just check comments real quick. Live viewer comments show up. Okay, it looks like can't post comments to some designations. Okay, so we'll see what we're going. So that is that's what's happening. That is why it's happening. COVID and AI. Who's interested in us? Which is PE firms are one of the big ones, but brokers are very interested in you. Family funds and strategic buyers. Also, so what are they interested in? Why will they buy you? What can you do to make sure that you know what you're doing and you get the best deal that you could get? So I've been to several sales programs and several programs about this, and before I made a decision for myself. And when somebody comes knocking at the door to buy your business, you should listen. Now, right now, I probably get a call a day for people that wanted to buy us. I mean, all of the time. Some legit, some seem like they weren't, but you probably are too. So you don't know who to talk to, so you don't talk to anybody. That's what I was doing anyway. So a friend of mine called me and said, hey, you need to talk to these guys called Village Partners, and you need to have a conversation with them. So I did, and that's kind of where we are today. But here's a couple things they're interested in. And if you're building a company, please hear me, because you may not be even thinking about selling, you don't want to sell, but at some time you're getting out of this business. One day you're going to get out. So you should, if you've read the E-Myth, no matter what, you should build a business that doesn't really need you. You should build a business that works without you. And that's step one in building a business that somebody wants to buy. Some of you know my story, but some of you probably don't. In 2003, I fell off of a roof. I fell 30 feet. I think I was grossing maybe $200,000 at the time. So I was told that my business was worth 1 times gross. So it was worth $200,000 in 2003. And I always thought, just keep growing that. And that's a good amount of money. And, something happens, I get $200,000 and I could do something else, or I'm building a little valuable business. But I did all the work. I worked by myself. I fell off a roof. I fell 30 feet, got seriously hurt my legs, got almost died. I was in a chair for a little bit. And so I'm like, that's a sign I'm getting out of the business. I'm going to sell it. What was surprising to me is that nobody wanted to buy my one-man chimney operation. It wasn't really interesting. And the person that said they would buy me was my biggest competitor in Nashville at the time. And they were like, I'll maybe give you $10,000 for your company and your equipment. I'm like, $10,000? I've worked 17 years at that time, and it had no value. That was the market value at the time. And I'm like, I have really messed up. And the big aha moment for me it's in I think it's in E-Myth that I had built myself a job. I had not built a business. In my mind, I had built a business, but I hadn't. If it needs you to work, needs you to run, you've built yourself a job. And if it doesn't need you, that's more of the definition of a business. And that's what's interesting for these companies to purchase, is a true business, not just I'm buying Mark's chimney sweep or your Joe's chimney sweep job. You will not get much for that. And so how do they figure out what you're worth? Well, they like to see top line revenue. So how many millions of dollars you make, or you don't make a million, whatever you make, your top line revenue is interesting. And that's a kind of a bar that you want to cross, which is really, they're looking at companies over 2 million is kind of 2 million is kind of the bottom line. So if you're not at 2 million, that's the goal. Get yourself to $2 to $4 million. There's a lot of reasons to do that. One, if you don't sell, your life gets better. In my opinion, it may not be yours, it might be too many headaches, and that's not a good place to be. But in the context of this conversation, they want to see you above 2 million. And then they look at how profitable you are when you do work. How profitable are you? And they have a name for this, which is called EBITDA, EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and I'm drawing a blank on the amortization. So this is a number that your accountant can help you with to know what your EBITDA is. With EBITDA, what they do is they give you a multiple of EBITDA. So they give you like 5 times your EBITDA. So for easy numbers, let's just say you're 20% profitable at $1 million. You have a $200,000 profit per year at $1 million. They're going to give you an EBITDA of, in our world right now, they're giving EBITDA multiples of 4 to 8 is typical. So let's just say you get 7 on your $200,000 profit. You will get a $1.4 million offer on that size business. So what used to be 1 times X, which is X in this case was $1 million company, you're lucky that nobody would pay you 1 times that. But if your profit is there, you can actually get more than 1 times your top line revenue. So I hope that makes sense. But there's a lot of things that depend, they look at in your company to give you higher and higher multiples. Tommy Mello got a 21x multiple on, I think what he said was a $25 million profit company. So, he got like $500 million on an extremely profitable garage door. Now, that deal is unheard of, and that's not happening in chimneys, but there are very good offers on the table. And the main thing you need to focus on is doing the work, but staying profitable while you do the work. One of the mistakes I made for years is I just grew the company. Whatever cash I had in the bank, I bought new vans, traded new people, bought stuff, grew the company, and I would run on 5 or 6% profit at the end of the year because you don't want to pay taxes. So you write everything off as much as you can, or you buy as much as you can so you don't pay the tax man. Well, that turns around to bite you when you're getting ready to, put your business up to market because you don't look very profitable. So a strategy that you need to do is you do need to pay taxes in a way that will make you look better, to more bankable and more more value to the market. So there's a strategy there. So probably a few years, 3 years before you're ready to sell, start positioning yourself to move more into being profitable and less into just investing in growth, or taking it all off. Now, if you're taking it all off the table and putting it in your pocket, that's good too. So, the more you're paying yourself, the better on this case. So the worst thing you can do is, not pay yourself very well and not be profitable. And some chimney guys do that. They don't make much money and they don't have a lot in the bank and they just kind of survive. Understand that business is not really a business, and that's not what they're interested in. What you need to do is really understand your numbers and run a profitable operation. More profitable, the better. Now, when they came to talk to me, I wasn't quite ready. I didn't look pretty, right? I didn't have all my EBITDA numbers and all my profit numbers because I had just rebranded my company. I just moved 3 companies into one building, which was extremely expensive, shut down operations on one company. I have a powder coating operation, and I wasn't ready I was getting ready to look better. But when they came to me, I'm like, hey guys, I have just invested over $1 million in this growth strategy. Well, in this case, that's called add backs. And if you can prove to them what you're investing in will help grow, then sometimes you get that kind of money back. But that's the number they're looking at is EBITDA. That's a number that you really need to know whether you're ready to sell or not. Talk to your accountant. understand what they're looking for, and work on that number. That's not really a hard number to work on to make yourself more and more valuable. So I hope that's helpful, but let's just talk about a couple other things. They want this business to be able to run without you, not necessarily to get rid of you, but it makes it understandable that if they give you a bunch of money, you have the ability to leave if you're not running the business well or you want to. And for me, at 50, not about to be 59, I am signed on to, be the president for at least 2 more years, and I can stay on if I want. But I also have an ability to, if I don't want to, I've built a system that can be handed off for others to run, and it'll run fine without me. Hopefully not. Well, you want it to run better, but if you get your ego involved, you won't think it will. But these businesses are hard to run, so they in my case, they definitely want you to stay around. If you're a good operator, they're like, we don't know how to run these things. We want you to. So sometimes people are like, I heard you sold out, or I heard you're retiring. Well, that's not the case at all. In fact, I'm more involved now than I was in the last couple of years because I'm on the clock to grow the company, right? I had a little party the other night when we closed the deal, and they call it, closing day, when the investment's going to come in and they wire you the money. It's an amazing situation. But my daughter bought me this glass that says, retired 2026, not my problem anymore. I'm like, that's not accurate at all. It's actually all my problem, and I'm on the hook and on the line to actually grow it. And I like that. So, but if something were to happen to me, or I just don't want to do it anymore, I have an off ramp if needed, but I'm still all in. So there's no difference. It's just, again, they call it taking some chips off the table. I took some chips off the table. So if this thing completely fails on me, I'm not, it's like I've cashed in some stock is what I've done. But I still own stock in the overall thing. So that's kind of how it works. Hope that's helpful. Also, so they're looking at your market, where you're doing business. If you're in the middle of the country, it's not as exciting as if you are in a major market. Like if you're building something in Chicago, or you're building something in the Northeast. They love the Northeast. I'm in Nashville. We got a great market, but it's warm. It's warm climate. Some of the other people that are joining are in all kinds of different climates. But the hotbed is definitely the Northeast. But they've got companies from California to New York that are signing on and doing this kind of thing. So your market is important, though. And let's just say you're going to do this down the road. You should, if you're not in a good market, you should consider maybe opening a branch office in a really good market. That will be very interesting and if you can run it, very beneficial to you in the future. Let's see, what else are they interested in? Again, it's got to be able to run without you. And what does that structure look like? I have a vice president in place. I've got several great managers. I've had a lot of people with me over 10 years. So I've got a very strong management company, our management team under me. So if I've been able to step out and kind of be not retired, but I've got several other businesses. So the chimney business just runs without me. I give it direction. I work on the marketing, give it leadership, give it vision. And then my team, makes it happen. And my chimney company runs better without me doing the work than it does with me doing the work. It's much better to run that type of business. I still like doing the work. I still like laying brick. I can't do it like I used to. And if one day of it would wipe me out. My friend Chuck Hall says we're inside cats now. We used to be outside cats. Now we're inside cats. But I like that. So I love the customer interaction. That's my favorite thing, is just knowing your customers and being part of that. But you're going to grow a company, you kind of got to put some things down while you learn other tricks and trades. Like in our industry, I've said it for years that we are expert technicians and we're novice business people. And your challenge, if you're trying to grow a company, is to become an expert business person. If you're working in a company, you're an employee, work on being a great leader, read leadership things, take initiative, work with the owner to build the company so that it has, there's value there too. I think I have my first comment. Let me see what's happening here. Oh, congratulations. Wish you well. Hey, Robert, how are you doing? Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. It's really amazing and very exciting, and kind of starting a new a new thing. So thank you, Robert. So that is kind of the structure that you want to build. My friend John Meredith, years ago told me, he said, Mark, the company you're going to love to have is a company that doesn't need you at all. That's the company that's fun to run because you can come in and play in the sandbox and do whatever you want to do versus what you have to do. And, you know, over time, that makes the most sense. And that's what they're interested in buying. So they are also interested in our reoccurring revenue. So what if you have maintenance plans, if you have revenue that's just coming in no matter what, that's very interesting to them. But what they do like about Chimney Services is that they have a need. They either will come in every year or 2 years. Like for us, like 84% of our people that call us are referrals. And so we have a very high referring company, our people. And then, so then we have also big ticket items, as we know. Big chimney repairs is very interesting. And so between those two things and really good profit margins, overall, it's mostly labor, right? So with that, that's very exciting to them. What they're not as interested in this group specifically is like hearth stores and hearth showrooms and a lot of retail stuff. And hearth has been hit pretty hard because one, the internet came in and you can buy stuff everywhere. The chimney service industries, we can sell so many products. People don't really care about brands like you think they do. The hearth industry thinks they really care about brands, and some people do. But the majority of people, I could list 10 brands to any customer, and they have no idea who any of them are. So that is a problem for them because anybody can sell them the thing that's in front of them. And chimney guys have gotten real good at coming in with your iPads, coming in with your service-based heart and your service-based company and being able to provide the appliance and then service after it. Where Hearth was really not interested in service. It was more of a means to an end or a necessary evil. So they would not build up service companies, or they made this rule that we're only going to service what we installed, which is crazy because the majority of things that are installed were not installed by them. And so they've kind of missed this boat. And now there's a lot of them that are very interested in building service businesses now. And they have a great advantage. They have a showroom. People still do like to come in and see things, but you got to get guys in the door. And that's where this investment is very interested in. So we were the dirty guys. We were the low guys on the totem pole. And now we're the top dogs. And a lot of people are like, whoa, where did this come from? And so, but here we are, and it's a good thing. So if there's any other questions, I know I've put a lot of information out there. I've been going for about 30 minutes, so pretty much nonstop. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Some of you guys are backstage, and I don't know how to bring you on stage. This program is getting me a little crazy. So, but what I want to go into is a program that we came up with SureFire to basically, if you're interested in anything I've been talking about, well, what's the next step for you? So I will show you a program that we have come up with. It's called Built to Sell. Whether you're ready to sell or not, we've made a program to really educate you. And we're going to show you all sides of it from as an owner, how to get yourself ready to this hard charge to build your business up. We've got people who are buying businesses. Brokers are going to come in, or some of my partners are going to come in and give you an evaluation of what your company is worth. And you could say that's a great number, or that's not the number. I need to do some more work. And then we're going to have people who will show you how to get your books ready, get your numbers ready, prepare for this. And then we're going to have people who've bought businesses and sold businesses. Some of us that are in this process are going to have talks monthly on what it looks like and what we should have done differently, or what was a great thing. Another question here from Jake. Jake says, what would you have done differently knowing what you know now? Well, that is really the question, right? And If I would have known private equity was coming, I would not have moved my company from one building to another. I would have stayed tight and not done that expense. I got lucky that they gave me that money back in my offer, excuse me, but I would have known the EBITDA number. I would have really been focused on profitability versus focused on top line revenue. Top line revenue is very important. It shows that you can generate and maintain a lot of jobs, but the bottom line revenue is where the offer kind of comes through. I remember also, I refer to John Meredith a lot because he's a mentor of mine. I recommend you getting a mentor and talking to people that have information. But John said, at about 50 years old, Mark, you need to start planning your exit, and at 55, you better have a plan together. And, he did one plan, he did some things. And then, I didn't go down the path he had, but I still went down the path to prepare. And so what I would have done differently is probably prepare earlier, knowing now that there's people looking at you, have a number that you need to get to make this deal happen. And if they can't come up with that number for you, know what you need to do to move the needle to get there. I would also be in a hurry. Like, this is not the time to just sit back and relax unless you have no interest in this. If you have interest in a big exit for your company, your employees, a big way, magic carpet ride, you've got to do some things to get that number to be where you are, and you should start working on those before they come to see you if you can. But also I probably should have got an evaluation early, and there is a list. Um, he had a really great list of things to do, and man, I had to do those when we went through the process, which took forever. I mean, it was due diligence is what they call it. It is absolutely running your whole business through a fine tooth comb, and you pop out on the other end, have to put yourself together. Because for me, I had three businesses that they bought in three different locations and three businesses. So I have Ashbusters in Nashville, Knoxville, and Charleston. And then I have Top Hat Metalworks, and I have Burrowtech Powder Coating. So they bought the whole thing, or invested in the whole thing, I should say. I still run it all, but that was, I would have cleaned all that up, a lot of to from kind of things. If you're taking a lot of cash under the table, don't do that. Get your books really clean, get your books very up to date and above board, because they'll find it. They'll catch it. These guys are high level, amazing wizards at numbers. And so have your HR policies down, have your books very clean, have your insurances all caught up and clean, know where all your titles are to your vehicles. Like, a lot, they need to know all kinds of things. And your top 25 customers, your top 25 vendors, kind of things like that. There's a list, and we're going to work on that. We're going to give that to you in this program that I'm going to talk about next, called Built to Sell. But let me just show you our brochure, that what we're going to do. And if you're interested, let me just go ahead and put this link up here, banner right here. So the website is SureFire b2s.com. You may have to put the http / right there, but that's our website. And that's going to show you what I'm getting ready to show you, what's in the program, what we're going to do, and how it works. But bottom line is, I think this is amazing for our industry. It's exciting if it excites you. And if you're not interested and you want to run your own thing without it, that's fine too. There's no force, but this is an amazing door that's opened up in our industry that wasn't here a year ago. It's been about a year since I think the first acquisition that I knew about happened. And now there's a couple companies working in this space, and they're in a race, which is good for us. We want to be needed by a lot. And so it's a good thing. There's some people that are probably going to hate it, but there's groups that hate every change. And so, you just really can't worry about that. But let me show you what this looks like. Share screen. All right, so here is the platform. Let me roll up here. It's called Built to Sell. It's going to start in Nashville, and we're going to kick this off in August 20th and 21st at my shop in Nashville. And so we're going to show you how to build your company up the most and what really matters, what moves you need to make so that when offer time comes, it's the offer that you want, that you can get behind, and you really get paid for all the work you've done. A lot of us work our tails off, but if you're not working in the right way, you're not really building value so that you're building an investment. You're building just a job. And we want to show you how to build this thing. So when the offer comes, you've got options. So as I said, the built to sell owners are different than most owners. Most people look at the top line revenue only. You work in the business every day. You have messy books, unclear profitability, no idea what the business is actually worth. Everything depends on you being there, or no plan. If a buyer came knocking, you're like, they ask a handful of questions and you don't know them. What's your profit levels? What's your margin on this? How much, what's your percentage of direct labor? What is your overhead? Those kind of things. Like, those are things you need to know no matter what, if you sell or not. But, like I said before, EBITDA is a scoreboard. The business will run without you. Clean, dependable financials, know their valuation range to the dollar. So, if I told you your business is worth, they give you $2 million today, that might be amazing. And you might go, oh, heck no way. I would never take 2 million for this. But everybody's in a different place. So, but if you know your valuation now, if we can give you a valuation, you can go, okay, I'm nowhere near I want to be. I want to get $10 million for my company. Well, we'll show you what you got to do and what that looks like, what a company that gets $10 million looks like. And then if somebody came to you and said, we need to do due diligence, you're like, oh, I got it right here. Here's the packet. Well, for me, I didn't have that at all. So it was kind of rough. All right. So next steps. This is for the owners who want to build something real we're not really big motivators. We're just more going to be in the world of education, and you got to motivate yourself. I can't motivate you, but if the things you're going to see don't motivate you, you need to you need to look somewhere else. But again, I've said it again. You want a business that runs without you, even if you never plan to sell it. You need to care about the EBITDA and not just top line revenue. And again, same kind of stuff, clean books. You want leverage, whether you sell, you bring in a partner, or you keep the business forever. And then you're done guessing and ready for a structured plan to increase the company and what it's actually worth. This isn't a networking group. It's a structured program with real deliverables, with his offers and valuations and real knowledge from people who do it. And I'm going to show you the speakers, and it's really a great set of speakers. We're going to start off in Nashville. You guys are going to come to my shop. We're going to talk about what drives the good stuff. What's a deal killer? What destroys your value and you don't even realize it? Like, multiple side deals you have, and, just breaking up the company in different ways. What really hurts the company? Or if you have multiple services, if you have all your employees working for every company you've got, or a bunch of things, there's a handful of things that will absolutely kill a deal. And you need to know what those are, what actually increases multiples in our industry. And then you're going to start a 90-day sprint with probably one of the most amazing coaches we've ever had. We've used him several times in our programs, because he gets your mind right. If you're going to really grow a company, you need to probably understand yourself the most, and he's going to get the most out of you and understand your goals, what motivates you, what you should do, what BS that you're putting up with, or what BS stories you're telling yourself. He's going to in a way, break that down and give you real things to work on so you're ready for this sprint that we're going to do. We're doing a 10-month to 12-month sprint to get your business either ready or on the path to being ready. So then what's next? So we're going to go through some strategies to get your EBITDA up. What's your KPI infrastructure measurement? So that's your key indicators, your key profitable indicators, financial cleanup, what they're looking at, what you got to do, brand positioning. You want to be the brand in your market, and what that looks like. Sales systems, reducing owner dependency across every function. Then months 6, 8, and 9, you're going to do a readiness cleanup. We're going to do it's kind of a scorecard review, what it's looking like, removing risks that could hurt your valuation, where your gaps are, and do some due diligence prep work, have some things ready that will really speed this process up, whether you're ready for it or not. And then we're going to do a really fun trip with everybody to the Caribbean. I believe it's going to be St. Thomas. We're working on that now, but we're all going to go down and have a big party, whether you're selling or not, whether you get an offer that you love or not. We're going to have a big party, and then you'll have a sell ready blueprint. You will understand all the stuff inside and out. You will have got such a new value in your brain of what all this is. So basically, here's, who owns SureFire. A lot of you know this, but Jake Loeffler, Alan Rush, Jim Brewer started SureFire 15 years ago. And then our speaker lineup is really amazing. Steve Krebs is going to start you off with getting you ready, getting your brain ready to do this. Ellen Rohr, who a lot of you know, has written many books on financial literacy, and she's going to tell you how to very simply do the financials that you need. And she spoke at Rush, the Blue Collar Profits last year that we had, and she got you excited about financials, which I hate financials, but man, when she talks, you're excited. Catherine Howard, which Home Services Operations, she has also sold a business, and she wants to talk about what that looks like. Dan Antonelli, if you don't know Dan, he's the #1 brand strategist guide in the country. Most brands, my brand, a lot of big brands have gone through Dan. He's going to tell you why this branding matters and what it looks like for home services businesses and what your brand looks like. Is absolutely critical in what your brand is going through. I'm going to talk about my role with Chimney Collective, what my situation was, how it worked for me. Anthony Valerio is on the team as well, and he's going to be joining us at Chimney Collective with 4 Winds. You may know him. He is absolutely amazing company, and but he's a 4th generation Mason, but he's done a lot of great things. Rhett Hogan and Branson Tibbs are the founders of Village Partners. So they are going to be the ones doing the evaluation and telling you how to be ready for whether you talk to those guys or other people. They are very open, and they want the best for this industry. I really like them. Of course, Jim Brewer has sold his business as well. He's going to talk about how he did a strategic sale to another chimney company. And then also John Meredith, as many of you know, he sold his company in an ESOP. He sold it basically to employees, and he's going to tell you, exit strategy, industry legacy, good and bad about those kind of things, what to watch for. So I think we've got an amazing set of speakers that can really help you understand. And then our program is a $9,800 10-month program. It's $1,000 to reserve your seat, and then we will take payment in different times for this. And we have 25 seats open, and we've got an amazing group. And this is a very small investment. One of these things that we show you will be worth 10 to 100 times what the cost of this is. Just a little tweak in what you're doing pays you back way more than any cost. But you got to understand the knowledge. You got to understand the language, and that is the program that we're getting ready to run. I got another comment. What increases multiples in our industry? So, what increases multiples? There's a couple things. One, your top line revenue, believe it or not, helps the multiple go up. So, if you're, it's called a mid cap company. So, when you cross the $5 million mark, that's kind of a multiple, right? Just on its own, like a 1x just by itself, 1 to 2x. You cross 10 million, that's another probably 2 more multiples, just that top line revenue, because they know there's so much to do in there, and you've really crossed some barriers that a lot of people can't cross. So those are some quick multiples. Other things are just the profitability that you have. Again, the standard multiple in this industry is 4 to 8x. It didn't used to be that. Before the private equity moved in, it was 2 to 3x. And that was never enough for me to be interested. But, there is a 4 to 8x, and in really good cases, it can go 9, 10, 11, 12x for what we're doing. If you're an exceptional brand, exceptional leader. But that's about as high as I've seen in our industry. Like I said, Tommy Mello hit 21x. I've seen some HVAC companies hit 18, 19x of that multiple. And so that's a very exciting thing. We don't quite have that in chimneys. We don't have nearly the size companies that HVAC does. So it's a different world. But we're about to enter that world. So that's a cool thing. But that's kind of what I've seen. Then the other thing that increases multiples is called add backs. So let's just say you pay, yourself, you buy yourself the car, and you pay for a lot of stuff on the books that's really doesn't show up in a profit, but you're paying yourself over here on these things. A lot of those are add backs that help your multiple when you've spent money and it's not quite all on the books. They will give you, consideration on what you spent money on other things for. Like for me, they gave me consideration to move my brands into a new building, which was a clear investment in reducing costs and improving efficiencies. And they really love that. I had just switched to Service Titan, which was very expensive and hard, but that is the platform of choice for a lot of these companies. And at some point, that's a win. That's a thing you should look at. Now there's some others out there, but a lot of these private equity companies really like Service Titan, because at some point you're going to have to talk across the platform, somebody working the price books and somebody, fixing all that stuff that we as business owners don't have time or expertise to do. They're going to have people that can do that. And so, if you're rolling up 30 companies, you don't want to have 30 different platforms that you got to become an expert in. So those kind of moves are what would be expected in this part at least. But, again, this isn't a rush, but it is, you need to be in a hurry. I don't think the chimney bench is that deep. And as far as how many companies are above $2 million or $1 million even. So I think once all these companies find those top companies, they'll be around for a little bit, but then they may move on to something else. And this is my opinion. These other guys may say completely different things. They're like, hey, we'll fund a startup guy that's $250,000 that we believe in. So I'm just saying that, our industry is very exciting now. And the more deliberate you can move toward these kind of things, the better you'll be in the future. But if you're saying, hey, Mark, I'm just gonna ride this thing out right where I am, and that's all I want to do, dude, that's good too. This is just a new thing on the table. So Jake, you asked about service contracts. I think it can help. I can tell you that I've had several, I used to have about 200 or 300 service contracts. They never really asked me about that. They did look at cash flow. They do look at how, they do look at your customers, how often they engage you. They weren't really like saying, okay, all these service contracts give you this. They might have, but it wasn't part of my deal. So I can't tell you exactly how that would affect. They weren't, and they also never said, hey, well, if you had service contracts, you would get this much more. Backing into that, a friend of mine years ago sold a franchise called Ducks, Ductz, and Hoods, Hoodz. And he got a giant multiple because he got a 10x multiple on that company because he had amazing service contracts and he had amazing referral program. And I've talked about before, but the way he had people refer his company was very unique. And they love that. Tommy Mello got giant multiples because he had an amazing training system. The way he trained his technicians to sell and the way they did everything, like, wow. Because one of the hard things in blue collar work is getting people to work for you. Well, Tommy processes like 50 new people a week through his program. So he had this churn of, I can get people in, I can pay them well, and I got a great training process. Like, oh, boom, big multiples on that. And then he had the same training process, sales process. There was one more thing that he had that was his hiring process was very good. So when you can solve the process of getting people in and ready to go, and then you've got a great marketing engine on the other side that keep them busy, and it's different. That's why he got a 21x multiple on his deal. Now, I'm speaking for him. This is all second and third hand. If he listens, he can say I'm wrong about things, but I know that's kind of the gist of it. I do know that he got multiple things because he had great systems in place to get new people in, train them, and get them back out on a truck. If you don't have some of those systems and you can't get people to work for you and you can't get people to stay, that you lose money on that. They want people that have great leaders, dynamic leaders that when people get in this business and stay in this business and grow with it, and they want them to make a lot of money, right? When you pay your people well, and you're still profitable, that's a healthy business and super challenging. I'm saying this, and I don't always do it right, but it is the game we're in. Spending as much as you can on your employees without spending too much is a funny game. So, all right, I've been at it right at an hour. Amazing timing. Jim Brewer always gives me a hard time because I'm never quite ready to do this. I'm just going to talk to you. It's not scripted out. I got a handful of notes and we just talk. So I'm going to try. I'll do this next Tuesday night. I'm going to try to do several of these. Go back to the Built to Sell if you're interested in this. Also, you can call Bree. She can talk to you. You can reach out to me. I'm on Facebook. You can private message me if you have questions. I think it's going to be a great program. We always try to in SureFire, we just try to help the industry. We built our training platform to help you grow a company. And a lot of people use it and have done that. And that's all that's our whole game, is to try to spread things that will help the industry grow. And this is the next thing, just more information from, people who are doing it, know about it, not people sitting on the sidelines, because there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines that got a lot of opinions telling people things. You probably ought to talk to people in the middle of it to get the real information. So that's the deal, guys. Thank you for coming back on SureFire Live, and thank you for being here. As I talked, more and more people came, so that's fantastic. I will do it no matter if there's one person here or 100 people here. So I'll repost this in a couple places, and let me know if you need anything. Let me know if you have information or have questions. I'll do it again next week. We'll ask more questions, go over this a little bit more so we all understand what's happening in the very exciting new world of the chimney sweep. Which, one last thing, my buddy John said, man, no one is ever going to come to your chimney company and offer you a big bucket of money. That's not happening. So figure out something else as an exit. Well, they're here with buckets of money and oceans of money, and whoever thought that would happen. So I'm here for it. Hope you guys are doing well. Talk to you soon. Talk to you next week. See ya.